Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pyre. Wait, what's this button? Alright. As usual, I'm gonna try to talk as little as possible so I can make it through the rest of this game without my voice dying. At dawn, your companions are prepared to depart. Everyone is silent. Your travels are to take you back to the Ridge of Gaul. But soon after, the stars shall draw you here again. It's a fast liftoff. I bet you anything like the final ascension or liberation rite is going to take place against the new Nightwings with Oriclan or whatever. Mitha. Let's get Pamitha boosted. Help Pamitha get the Black Wagon back in working order. In spite of having checked earlier, you realize the Black Wagon suffered some damage to one of its wheels. Pamitha is already working on repairs, but not having much luck. Never get why you Commonwealth plebs like traveling on wheels. Hours later, the wheel is fit for travel again, although fixing it seemed to take a toll on her. Pamitha lost hope. Oh. Well, that was lame. I was hoping she'd get a buff. I don't think I have a whole lot of money. I have a bit. One second. I need to take some medication. Blah blah blah. Oh, did Mr. Sandoval get out of here? Yes, he did. Well, good for him. I can't afford that. Oh, but I can sell this. Well, everyone's maxed out now. Oh! Thank you for the bits, Anonymous. Startled me. Downside talismans. Survival is conflated with the physical. When we think of survival, we assume they need to sustain our bodies or improve our bodies. The strong survive. But, and take it from an alpha chief, there are different kinds of strength. The spirit is what drives us. By comparison, the body's impulses are weak. Here in the downside, faith is found in limited supply. Trinkets and mere baubles that would barely fetch a price in our homeland, here are talismans. Seek talismans that mean something to you. Hold on to one that you hold dear. It shall reward you with reminders of your faith, your power, your potential. Okay, let's do the rite. By now, having to make preparations for the rites has become second nature to your companions. They go about the process efficiently, and this time in almost total silence. You cannot shake the sense that the routine shall not go on much longer. Sir Gimlin approaches and confirms to you that the Nightwing sigil is set. Everyone has their books and raiments, and the grounds are ready. Everything should be in order. Well then, Master Reader, This night, supposes we could while away these final precious moments prior to the ride by witnessing the stars parade about the glorious night sky. To think that this knight lived so much of his life utterly ignorant of the stars and their eternal beauty. You and Sir Gilman stand together in silence for a time, looking for the stars above to show some indication that the rite is to commence. It is taking too long. Concern begins to well up in you, but then... Alright. Here we go again.
Reader, it seems the stars once more have mustered wherewithal to usher in the rites. The sky grows dimmer by the day. An age is ending. Surely you must know by now that you shall never all be free. Yet still you struggle to fulfill some senseless plan. But I digress, of course. Some of us still honor the tradition. Some of us hold dear the teachings of the Scribes.
The pyres on each side are burning bright. From across the field you observe the leader of the dissidents approach and remove his mask. Well now, it's time we win another round then, is it mates? Don't know how many more of these things we got in us these days. So how about we take this one a real kicker, eh? Come on then, Nightwings, do your worst. I want to see you try and do some proper damage here.
Who shall besmirch the Nightwing's name?
Presents. Prayer beads, okay. They're all maxed out, that's kind of scary.
Just choose. Bertrude.
They're all going to be like super fast.
Sir Gilman.
I need you to remember that I've got the taunt. This shall be our final rite against the dissidents, then let us conduct it with all due glory, and more! Alright then, mates. You ready? You ready? Let's make those blasted stars up there go wet themselves after we're through here, aye?
Now begin. The first dousing. Yes. Magnificent. Spectacularly done.
This is going a lot easier than I expected. Boy, not bad, I gotta say. Go on now, keep at it, Barker boy. Just like if dear mum were here, old mum were here. You just keep at it now, you understand? No pressure now, no pressure, aye. Alright, mate, it's time to get real angry now and show them what for. Come on, let's boil some blood, eh? Oh, I didn't realize I had the,
And it is done.
Was that the end already?
The Nightwings managed to prevail.
Wandered into Twitch. Hey, bro! It's going alright. How are you?
The rite is ended.
Ye dissidents, you conducted here with such fury and such desperation that we must commend you for it, despite the outcome, which hath favored us. I guess that's that, the dissidents. They won't have much of a chance of getting out of here anymore, will they? This night declares the taste of victory is sweet indeed. We prevailed against a worthy foe. You feel me blood still boiling after that. Would have rather sniffed that flame of yours, but hey, he's seen you around these parts. Come on, mates, let's get out of here. Hanging high here, that. Hanging in there is like...
do tend to teach something of trust.
It's just kind of like modus operandi right now.
To Bertrude are the ways of the 8 scribes laid bare.
Long have we sought to fathom all the darkest secrets hidden by the light of the stars. Now at last the stars themselves revoke their station in the night, and we have finally achieved an inkling of what do we want? Pouncing gives me stamina or Hex of Defeat. I don't like Hex of Defeat.
Praise be to molten Melith. May misfortune find you ere the turning of the stars.
The voice really does not like us, does he? Inside the wagon, after thwarting the dissidents, Prometheus discussing aspects of the outcome with the others when the lone minstrel seeks you out. Pardon the interruption, reader, though I need to ask a moment of your time, while the night is clear enough for you to see. Please, come have a look outside. Perhaps the news of your next destination may further stir the hearts of your companion. Among the stars yet remain shining in the night, one of them now burns bright as you ever have seen. Alright. Path to Freedom calls again. It's time to do another liberation rite. You're at an 84% chance of success. Ooh, we're gonna go up against the accusers. Does it sound okay to everyone? Does it seem quiet? It seems a little quiet to me. Hold on, let me double check. I've been having headphone issues. I may have accidentally turned the game sound down a little bit. Cycle turns even more quickly now, until such time as it shall shudder to a halt. It makes a sound then, almost like a laugh. Forget myself, reader. I should not say such things. The scribes, they would say that one ought to focus on the path in front of him. When we set forth to walk a long and labored path, it can be all too much. If we stand back and look upon it as a whole, we may well decide to turn around. But if we begin to walk while casting down our gaze, and while resisting well the urge to look too far ahead, we may make steady, careful progress. Soon enough, we may arrive where we endeavored. The lone minstrel bids you a good evening. You had best retire for the night, for when first daylight comes, it shall be time again to take to the skies. Alright. Back we go. Be getting close now. Oh. Your wagon reels from the impact of some sort of massive object slamming into it mid-flight. False night wings. Orlek calls down to all of you from atop his wagon. Again, you seek to climb that cursed mountain beneath us. Again, you seek to take my rightful place. I shall send you crashing down to it, where you might fall, as I have. He stares down at all of you. But I shall not. Rather, we shall meet upon the summit, ere the last cycle of the rites is ended. Until then. Make landing on the sacred Mount Elodiel after your encounter with Orlek. Orlek spoke the truth. He has a right to gain the summit. When the time comes, Celeste shall deem him worthy and shall let him pass. Periodically the stream shudders, but that might be your internet. I think I haven't had any drop frames, so it might be internet. And how are you doing, Mr. Dr. Bird? Well, he has transgressed against the rites. He has also already been anointed and prevailed. Nothing is written in the book on this, and liberty ought already be his. For the time, it seems that he has not yet traveled to the summit. Perhaps he is still making preparations with his fellow exiles. When exactly Orlick intends to make good on his promise, he did not make clear. For now, you're to confront Lendl and the accusers upon the summit. But first, you may prepare. Later that afternoon, you accompany Beneatha through the sheer cliffs of Temple Cistern to the monument of Under King Horus. What will you do when all of this is over, Beneatha? You going to run away? Let's face it, you're probably not getting out of here. So then, you can either go live out your days under some rock somewhere, or maybe these, who call you their friend, maybe they mean it? Return to the wagon as she has finished her prayer, paying her respects. The summit awaits, but first there is time to continue practicing your vocations. Beneatha has +3 glory. Ooh, nice. Mentor. Me? Oh, of course. Please tell me something I don't know, for there's lots of it. You can favor review what observations you have made thus far, the various triumvirates you have confronted on your journey. She has keen insights about some of them. Blessed are the scribes, whose eternal wisdom shines upon us through the stars, and illuminates the path to our salvation. Wait, what did I just say? Why, that was strange, but I feel so invigorated now? Pain reflexes. I sometimes wonder why the scribes wouldn't simply let us all go free. That's a good point. To the Scribes Gate. Here in the narrow pathways of Mount Elodiel, you encounter a messenger imp sent to deliver you the latest news and rumors from the other side. You learn this imp was personally sent by Wolfred himself to fill you in on all the latest happenings with him since he was liberated at the fall of Solium. On arriving in the Commonwealth, he was taken in with open arms and soon offered a seat among the Justices of Peace. He admits that he was quite taken aback by everything at first. He of course refused, stating his belief that the traditions of the Commonwealth had been corrupted over the many years. Such remarks put him in real danger. In the next moment, however, he was whisked to secrecy and safety by his sons and daughters of the Revolution in a daring raid. The Commonwealth claims he perished in a brazen act. Now Wolfred continues his work to find a way to bring home all the rest of you, to transform the Commonwealth according with his plan. Closes with a message to you all: have faith, you shall prevail together in the end. You thank the imp for bringing you this news, which gets all your companions talking. Scribes are guiding him. They're on his side. I know they are, because they told me so. I heard them. I just know. He has his convictions. I will give him that. The convictions can erase the centuries of enmity between my people and the Commonwealth. That's surprising. From all our years we know him for a stubborn sort, his will cannot be shaken. Glory be to our companion Wolfred. Though he may be a traitor in the strictest sense, this knight and all of us do know his cause is just. May the scribes keep watching over you wherever you go, sir, even if the rites themselves shall cease ere your plan is achieved in full. The news of Wolfred's liberation fills you and your fellow exiles with resolve. Messenger Imp accepts a small bite to eat from you and hurries away. Everyone gets +1 hope. Oh, 84 still doesn't seem like a high enough chance to me. We returned once more to Scribes Gate, where the gate garden awaits under a dim sky. The exiles of the Nightwings, and you, Tariq. This is to be one of our final meetings. Greetings, Celeste. The Nightwings are prepared, and afterwards I would have words with you, in private. It seems to me rather late for words now, Tariq, but I shall hear them, once your charges cross the gate. Now, all of you, come forward. Please state your names and what it is that you seek whilst crossing the Scribes Gate. Once more your companions cross the gate, one after another, and once more you follow them in turn. Celeste regards you all, then waves you through toward the summit. The 8 scribes bid the Nightwings welcome. Go forth with glory. And Tariq?
Samia.
Hi, Celeste. You may rejoin the others in a while. For now, I would hear those words of yours. Certainly, Celeste. Everyone, I shall see you shortly.
From the plains that sleep below to the canyons open wide, hear the song of gentle morning for the lost and lonesome bride on the hill and in the valley where the weeping flowers hide from the song of gentle morning for the lost and lonesome bride. Now he roams through hill and valley, and the canyons open wide, singing songs of gentle morning for his lost and lonesome bride, for his lost and lonesome bride.
Okay. Hey guys, got real cold up here. Worth it, I got lots of customers. Okay, maybe it exaggerated just a little. Are you buying anything? What do we got for sale? Ooh. Permanent presence upgrade. Ooh, or do I want a +4 presence upgrade? We'll get the permanent presence upgrade. Give this Sir Gilman because he sorely needs it. Oh, who are we gonna send out this time? So we decided who to free? I don't know! You know what, I'll think about it, but I need to go. I'm gonna go use the restroom while I think about it. Not many choices left. So, let's talk. Let's do a tiny bit of analysis. The kind of people we need to release are people who have like good leadership, or they're just, I don't know. What did they say? People who had leadership skills or anything else like really useful. I'm inclined to release Sir Gilman and Bertrude and to leave Pamitha and Faye. I worry that Faye wouldn't be able to have a huge impact on the plan, and I'm kind of worried about Pamitha's kind of devotion to her sister. I have some trust issues with Pamitha. I originally wasn't going to release Sir Gilman because I found him quite obnoxious, but I think I may release him next So I feel like he's one of my weaker combatants. Whereas Bertrude and Pamitha are both very strong. You saw in the last fight. Actually, the last fight, Sir Gilman did really well. So, yeah. If they'll let me send Sir Gilman out, they might not let me send him out because he's not up to level 5 yet. We'll see. You guys have a good day out there. The time has come once again to deliver one of your fellow exiles to a homecoming in the Commonwealth. Lest your adversaries, the accusers, achieve the same instead. The lone minstrel has returned, and approaches as you await a signal from the stars. There's something that I wish to ask you, reader, something which, ordinarily, would not be my place to discuss in any detail. Both observe the stars. If you would not mind my asking you in such a direct manner, how many liberation rites are you supposing here? I'm guessing 2. Tell him the only logical deduction which you have been able to make based on all of your readings of the stars of late. There shall be one final liberation rite after tonight. I concur with your evaluation, reader, sir. I wish to make certain that you were aware, so that you and the Nightwings may yet make the most of your remaining time together, thus. As to what shall happen once the final liberation rite is ended, we soon shall both find out. But lo, it seems that we are called upon once more. Look forth. Once again, stars shine.
Reader, I would ask that you think back for just a moment, if you please. When you first looked upon the Book of Rites, think back upon the words that it revealed. Oblige the voice that tells you more. Oblige the voice that tells you more. Would that the scribes were here among us still. I would not sing your praises to them, rest assured. I trust that you shall savor this occasion. You shan't have to oblige me for much longer.
The pyres burn, and each of the triumvirates is present and prepared. I concur. Pyres burn, and each of the triumvirates is present and prepared. Then, anointed one of the accusers, come forth now and declare yourself, and pay any respects you have unto your adversaries, the Nightwings. Voice as ever, Lendl steps forward and reaches for his mask. I was branded Lendl the Liar. Once I've reclaimed my liberty, the name shall be forgotten, and my rightful station in the Commonwealth shall be restored. Nightwings, you may have prevailed against me when we last met here upon the sacred site, but the many years since then have taught me much. I shall not fail again. Yet, you still hold much resentment for your adversaries. Is that not so, Lendl? Resentment is too kind a word for it. They are cheaters, one and all, unfairly favored by those scribes, although such as myself must struggle endlessly for such a chance. Now come, my accusers, let us vanquish those undeserving oafs, and prove now to the scribes that they were fools to favor the likes of them. He dons his mask once more. I am ready. Nightwings, your choice. In whose name shall you conduct this liberation rite? I wish you the wisdom of the scribes in making your choice, reader. And I wish you to prepare a song with me to read.
Whom shall you attempt to send home this time?
Oh, I can't send home Sir Gilman this time? Heck. So I guess we have to send home Bertrude. Dang, I was really hoping I wouldn't have to I should have thought this through and I should have mentored Gilman, because then I could have sent him home.
Bertrude.
Then now, perhaps, at last shall we return to whence we came, and there shall we resume our work, if truly we are to return.
Who shall be at her side? Tabitha.
This one's more for you then, reader darling, and I suppose for her.
Sir Gilman.
It's such an honor for this knight to strive on behalf of the good Bertrude.
The choice is
Come
cast.
then, Nightwings, and look upon me one last time, for by dawn I shall be free, while you will wallow in terrible defeat we have in store for you. Hey Bertrude, don't fail me.
Commence.
Okay. Oh shit! I screwed that one up. Oh, she wasn't flying, so she didn't get the bonus. Oh, dang it! Oh, this is bad. Oh, we brought back Bertrude. Bertrude still has her taunt too, I need to remember that. Now, accusers, grant me your auras and your anger that we may secure our rightful victory against these demons whom we face. Channeling the auras of his triumvirate, their strength combined with his, this must be the aura gain. Oh, that looks bad. Brick! I got nervous, but he didn't even approach at all. Hey, if I can't take them out here, I still have the Howler Hex. There it is. Ugh.
The blasted Nightwings proved their worth. Their adversaries they defeated utterly. Thus ends the liberation rite. And thus the Scribes have chosen the exile appointed by the Nightwings shall be free, absolved of all misdeeds, return to glory in the Commonwealth. Her adversary and all others shall remain to carry out their rightful sentences.
Blast you, Nightwings. Again you cheated me. Have you no pride at all in this tradition? By efforts, seal our return. She then looks over to you. Reading 1. Surely thou must have known that we have little interest in returning to this place to which we now return. Surely there are those among ye with a stronger preference to look upon its proud facades, which, to our ancient eyes, doth merely cause offense. Signifies one of two things, it seems. Either thou seekest to be rid of us, or, more likely, thou believest that we shall serve the plan of Sandalwood at greater length in our newfound capacity. She looks at you again, intent. We think we know which one it is. Thy efforts seal our return. Then, soon we shall resume our work in earnest. Perhaps we shall see ye again, or perhaps not. The shimmer pool whisks her within as you hear her call out to you one final time. Till whichever outcome, greeting one. Bertrude has earned back her freedom.
Godspeed, Bertrude.
May she return in glory. Ah heck, I hope that wasn't a bad idea to send her back. It used to soar above the mountains with the Highland remnants, and we would see the Commonwealth shining down on the horizon. It enraged us, the mere sight of it. I can fly free no longer, yet that anger, I don't feel it anymore. Faster flying, yeah. We returned to the wagon after having prevailed against the accusers in the liberation rite. That's one less mouth to feed. Perhaps this knight may too regain his honor. Succeeded in liberating Bertrude, who returned to the Commonwealth in glory. Soon you shall be summoned back to Mount Elodiel for one final liberation rite, and thus one final chance to influence the outcome of your plan. Oh, whoa, it just jumped up 8%. Okay, maybe it was a good idea to send her back. So many events already in motion, but even as you wait for them to happen, as they will, there's still something vital you can do. Now, reader, if you please, I fear the stars have little patience left. You turn back toward the darkness to look upon the last few stars too stubborn to relinquish their light. Scribes' stars yet burn for you atop the sacred mountain. Aub. Goal. Gilmer. Okay. I think we want to avoid fighting the Pyre hearts if we can. I'd like to fight Chastity in the final. Oh, they got, like, completely scratched off. That's kind of a hard choice. Once more you are to face the Tempers then, although I wonder. He hesitates before saying anything further. You cannot sense his thoughts. I apologize, I was lost in thought there. For a moment, let us make way for the Karn of Haob. Then, when everyone is feeling more refreshed, as much as possible. There's someone to talk to. Since Bertrude's liberation, Pamitha has been rather more subdued than usual, and you find her there perched quietly and still. How strange that I should care about some ugly crone, no, reader darling? Perhaps I'm simply jealous of her, right? Something in her voice suggests that you ought listen rather than respond. Such were the words I use. If only she could hear the venom that I speak, why, she would bottle it, for sure, and put a pox on me besides. You see, it's just, I'm accustomed to dealing with creatures so much more duplicitous than she. No offense intended, present company excluded, and so on. I'd fought against her kind once in a while. There upon your blood border, Commonwealth would trot them out, perhaps when you were feeling bold, or desperate too. Took them all for monsters, nothing more. We have Highland remnants. We knew that we were righteous, soaring high above those oversized maggots, hurling ancient curses at us, sometimes fire. But Bertrude and I, why, we got on just fine. She seemed to see right through me, and she didn't seem to care. She just took me for who I am. Imagine that, right? Perhaps when one gets to be her age, one finally achieves some sense of perspective, then some genuine enlightenment. She smirks to herself. Anyway, I hope that she appreciates the change of scenery, though I don't think good Bertrude cared very much to leave this place, if I'm to be quite honest. And yet, the dear old girl seems smitten enough with that Volford that she'll jump, rather splendidly, whenever he says jump. Would that my heart still yearned for anything when at her age. I suppose I'm just a little shaken that she's gone, but thinking of the terror that she'll likely cause back in the Commonwealth of yours. She laughs to herself perhaps to you. Thanks for getting her out, darling. So then, let's say we get some rest, We'll surely need it now that we don't have Trudy to rely on. Brace you, reader. She swoops off, laughing over her shoulder. Friendship between Beneath and Bertrude passed unnoticed by most of all your companions. Perhaps this is why Beneath valued it to the extent she evidently did. For now, you have every confidence that Bertrude will prove essential in achieving Volfred's plan, there, on the other side. On legacy, reader, though you shall always bear a burden, it is much lighter than the burden of a lonesome exile. Excuse me. Go forth and become free, then join with others such as you, and lead, with mercy, continuing to demonstrate your worth, and knowing that the Empire's fall formed the foundation of our Commonwealth. You shall cease to be a reader and become a voice both to be free and to your successors here, who shall take up this book when you no longer need it. The cycle of the rights shall see to it that you, and others like you, shall be liberated ere the coming of another age. May the stars shine ever brightly on us all. On we go! It is daybreak. You are to set forth now for the Crown of Hope, for what appears to be the final time. Thereafter you shall return here for one last exile's final chance of liberty. Pleasure to encounter you within the size themselves, O Nightwings. They deliberately crashed into us, Father, yet you still address them in such a cordial manner. Now, Almer, I'm certain that this was an honest accident, and appears no lasting damage has been done. Please, take the helm. I shall go and start to pick up all the fallen artifacts, which shook free from the walls after the impact. Perhaps some of the old heirlooms may yet be repaired with adhesives drawn from certain flora and may find a long and difficult quest. Damn you, Nightwings, you stay away from us. It's not my fault you were hiding, like, right at the screen transition. Oh, I just smacked into someone else. While flying, bump into 5 different wagons. I just got an achievement for bumping into 5 different wagons. That's fantastic. Something of value. I really have a lot of money. You and Pamitha spend much of the rest of the day searching through the desolate sprawl of Licksand until you at last find something of value. You're so violent! That one was an accident. I've done it purposefully, like, once, to smack into the Pyre hearts, because I'm a bully. So it would seem, at least, as neither you nor Pamitha can tell exactly what it is, for the object lies beyond your grasp. You consider methods to retrieve it. Work with Pamitha to retrieve the object you found? Go for it. After toiling away for some time, at last you find the object that you sought within your grasp. You and Pamitha take a moment to examine it. You found a love letter. Apparently it's valuable. I guess I did do that genocide run of Untitled. I don't think I've ever recovered from that, though. You know something, guys? I heard a crazy story that old Bertrude, she finally got out of here back to the other side. Can you believe it? You gave me your regards, okay? Because I got a lot of customers because of her, and I do mean a lot. Anyways, what can I do for you? I don't really need that. I'm gonna save my money. Pleasure is all mine and Dad's, you guys. Making all the necessary preparations amid the barren wastes of the Khan of Haub, you and your companions await the commencement of the rites. It is quieter even than usual at the onset of such events. A lone minstrel appears, bearing some sort of news. I have checked, and it appears as though the Templars have not yet arrived, reader sir. There's no sign of Ignarius or anyone. Their sigil is not set, either. If what he says is true and your adversaries are not present, then you presume the rite cannot commence. However, the stars themselves do indicate you are mistaken. Boy, what fresh hell is in store for us here.
Reader, the Commonwealth, your home. Today it is aflame. Much like a stack of books.
You banished books.
Aflame because of you.
Because you banished books.
Because of your outlandish plan.
Because you banished books.
Not that you care. Not that you shall live to see this place again. Your attempts at revolution shan't succeed. Though by all means, keep trying. As for myself, I shall enjoy presiding over these remaining rites.
The rite is set to commence, but your adversaries, they have failed to show. Some choice I've seen them make. They had no chance at getting in another liberation rite, did they? Indeed, as the rites are drawing to a close, some of the triumvirates whom you have met, perhaps they are beginning to decide the stars are not worth heeding any longer. Ignarius, you wonder whether he would give up on the rites like that. He did seem rather disaffected, having failed in the liberation rite before. Perhaps he did finally decide to quit, for good. In any case, we have begun the ceremony here, and so I ask that we end it.
Choose quickly your triumvirate. Sir Gilman. Kamatha.
Courage.
Faye.
Tramita?
Now.
Salutista?
So do we just put out that little flame over there? I mean, is that it?
Lo, even your adversaries have abandoned you. And it is done. The Nightwings prevail by default. Not that their adversaries even care.
That was weird. A contest against no adversary is not a contest at all.
Boundless are the teachings of the Scribes. Begone now from my sight.
Oh heck. I have to hope that it gives me vocations or I'm gonna have to let Faye or Pamitha go. No one speaks further of the Templars back at the Black Wagon. Everyone is instead preoccupied with the rite that is to come. This night is to believe that we have but one remaining chance at freedom, here and now. Stars always shine with truth. The ending of the cycle of the rites is now upon us. He looks over to you. Please look forth, reader sir, and see this for yourself. You may well surmise where we are going next. The others turn to you as well. Turn towards the wagon's door. You know what you shall see out there. Now, however, the time has come to be. The dim and fading light of the final star still pierces through the darkness, demanding your attention, guiding you toward the endpoint of your path. You see plain the golden star of Solium. Look upon it for the last. Tires. Oh yeah, we're gonna be fighting against the true Nightwings or whatever they're called. You are summoned to the Fall of Solium for your 7th and final liberation rite. Thus shall the cycle of the rites be ended for an age. You sense that, if the rites ever shall commence again, it shall not be during your lifetime, or that of any of your companions, even the longest-lived ones. Stars revealed to you one thing more. The adversary whom you shall face shall be Orlek. Already he has crossed the Scribes gate and awaits your arrival. If the 8 Scribes created the Nightwings in their own likeness, perhaps it is only fitting that the Nightwings should, in the end, be forced to face themselves. It is a shame that we should have to confront Orlek in the end. Our goals should never have been at cross purposes. I am surprised that this is what the Scribes desire. For now, it may be best that you recover until dawn. Regain your strength as best you can for the coming trial. Rest well, reader. Garib disperses as exhaustion sets in. At dawn, you fly to Mount Elodiel to make the final effort to achieve your plan and get somebody home. But who?
Foolish reader. Your so-called friends. You are accomplice to their hateful plot. They are exploiting you. You shall never have your freedom.
By dawn, you are already up and about after a troubled slumber. The Black Wagon is prepared for its final voyage to the fall of Solium. No one speaks. As you lift into the skies, the lone minstrel raises his voice, cutting through the somber mood. Reader, a certain olden ballad comes to mind just now. I think it may befit the circumstance. Perhaps it may help to pass the time along our flight. Would you mind it very much if I were to play the song for the Nightwings? You urge the lone minstrel to play his ballad so that all among you might hear it. It begins without another word.
When the stars align, the rights shall come to bear. Illuminate the signs, the exiles shall be there. All are not the same, but three shall be as one. Freedom in flame, the end has just begun. Strength may break our own, but twisted make a great. Together on their own, the journey shall be made. The journey shall be made.
The reason the voice hates the reader so much is because the voice is actually like the head of the most powerful branch of the government of the Commonwealth. And since I've basically directly worked to throw the Commonwealth into upheaval, he hates me. Once more we sail above the fall of Solium. The temple to the 8 Scribes awaits us at the summit. None have seen the temple, save for those worthy to conduct the rites there, and myself and my counterpart Celeste. You may, then, wonder whence it came. The cycle of the rites has turned since the beginning of this age. Over its course, whilst waiting for the cycle's turns, some exiles thus pay tribute to the 8 Scribes. I think the Scribes may not have wanted such extravagance, or the carved effigies to them along the way, yet it is for the triumvirates to decide how best to honor the rites. They chose to honor them as you see here. There. How you would remember this, of course, whether even wish to do so, that is yours to decide. The Scribes would not want otherwise. Who is Orlek? Orlek actually was a Nightwing at one point. So what happened was, back before kind of my group of the Nightwings spun up, the Nightwings would only run with 3 people, and they'd kind of, after a while, one person would be chosen to ascend. So Orlek was chosen. It was Orlek, Wolfred the Sap, and another woman, I forget her name. Those 3 were all the Nightwings, and it was Orlek's turn to ascend. But they won the right, but before he was able to get into the pool, I forget the woman's name, she pushed him out of the way and jumped into the pool to try to, escape to freedom. Orlick got pushed off the mountain. She died in the pool because she wasn't the anointed person. So he's really mad because he had a chance to get out, but it was denied him. He was betrayed, essentially, by another Nightwing. So, yeah, he has a very tragic story. He touched down amid the great heights of Mount Elodiel to make the pilgrimage to the summit for one last time. There, one last liberation rite shall soon commence. There, one last exile shall regain his or her freedom. All others shall remain to carry out their sentences here in the downside for the remainder of their lives. And, in the Commonwealth, the plan of which you are a part of shall either come to fruition or shall be suppressed. After having landed, you join Pamitha on a final expedition to the monument of Yomer Manymane, for what is likely to be the final time. Well, Pamitha, here you are again. Enjoy it while you can, I guess, because it sounds like this is your last chance, and everyone's. What would you even do if Reader Darling there decided to pick you? Have you even decided yet, or need more time there, You'll always be an outcast, Pamitha. There's nothing waiting for you where you're from, and your sister hates you. Yet, you want to go back anyway. Maybe because they thought they'd seen the last of you. Just imagine the looks on their faces. Soon she is finished, you return to the wagon in silence, feeling as though Yomer Manymane has shown you favor. Oh. That almost sways me to let her go. I mean, Sir Gilman would be good, but he's kind of one of those cog in the machine sorts. Feels really mean to say, like one of those people who definitely follows the rules and stuff. She could cause some real chaos if we send her back. At dawn you shall begin your last ascent. For now your vocations may occupy what little time you have to spare. Peasants. The knight is always keen to take even the barest scraps of wisdom, Master Reader. You and Sir Gimli go over what you know of the celestial landmarks you have been to, and how their properties impact the Nightwings and the rites. You can tell he knows many of them well by now. This knight is the epitome of indomitable spirit. He has achieved the culmination of his training. How wonderful feeling, having nothing left to learn, Master Reader. Nothing whatsoever. This knight highly recommends it. Once per round, he may freeze everyone. Do I go for the freeze or the ability to teleport back to where I came from? I think I'm gonna pick Quick Draw. The gloried vistas of the downside. Though they may be laughingstock next to the splendors of the Commonwealth, of course. I think I'm gonna send back Pamitha, even though I don't quite trust her. Oh my goodness. The messenger traveled all the way to your location in the old masonry of Mount Elodiel to bring you the latest news and rumors from the other side. They didn't bring sighting about Bertrude in particular, and what became of her since she was liberated at the fall of Solium. You learned she shrugged off all the pomp surrounding her return and retreated to her native home in the southern bogs. Thereafter she proved difficult for the Commonwealth to reach. Each time officials came to her with various opportunities, she would curse them and send them on their way. Finally, however, she met with certain guests of a different sort. She's now working with Volfred's sons and daughters of the Revolution, putting messages to parchment and creating pigments that they use to spread their word and cause. She leaves a message for you personally. We shall be watching ye. Coming from her, you take it for a compliment. You thank them for bringing you those details as your companions together to discuss. Now there's someone I wouldn't want to be my enemy. It was enough to have her as a friend. Ah, but it is good to hear stately Bertrude is as headstrong as ever now that she is home. This knight would have you know that he was often terrified of her. She must know everything. I could have learned so much from her. I hope we'll see her again soon. The news of Bertrude's liberation fills you and your exiles with resolve. Messer Ims accepts a small bite to eat from you and heads off. Companions gain +1 hope for the next rite. You stand before the Scribes gate with your companions. The gate guardian is there, as ever, but you sense something different in her. The exiles of the Nightwings. We shall not meet again after the rite. Tariq and I, it shall be time we take our rest, I think. Greetings, Celeste. I would tell you that the Nightwings are prepared, but this time, I'm uncertain anyone amongst us feels thus. We have a duty to uphold, Tariq. And then what, Celeste? And then nothing. Not for the rites or us. Not till the dawn of a new age. Now, Nightwing, step forward. Please state your names, and what is it that you seek whilst crossing Scribes' gate? One by one, your fellow exiles approach her, now with sureness in their step. I'll go. Pamitha Thean. I came seeking my blood sister Tamitha's forgiveness, since she ended up in here because of me. Maybe something good can come of it, as yet. Sir Gilman of the Sea Dominion, at your service. This knight's never-ending quest for honor shan't end here, yet first, he has a noble duty to uphold. Oh, my name is Faye? I'm here because, the Scribes, this is the path that they have shown me, and all of us. I like it when they call to me. Finally, you step forth once more. You, a common wanderer who vowed to help his friends be free again, who managed to come this far with this group. Gate Guardian observes you for a moment, then motions past the archway toward the summit. The 8 Scribes bid the Nightwings welcome. Go forth with glory. Except for you, Tariq. You stay right there. I thought you said, the rites are not yet ended, Tariq. He looks to her, then over to the rest of you. Pardon me, everyone. I shall be there when the stars align. The Gate Guardian and the Lone Minstrel remain together as the rest of you depart. You have gained the summit of Mount Elodiel for the 7th time, the final time which any of you shall have a chance to leave the downside. Hey guys. I guess you probably heard the big news, huh? Yeah, I'm going out of business here, I guess. This hasn't been the same, you know, what with the stars fading out and stuff. Anyways, just wanted to say you guys are great. I am sure gonna miss having you guys as customers and all that. But I got some good news too, though. All my stuff, it's all on sale now, and I'll throw in a little extra there just for you, okay? So, enjoy, and maybe I'll see you guys around, okay? Henceforth, all of Falcon goods are 5% off. Great. Dang. I don't know if they ever explained exactly why the stars were ending, but in terms of gameplay mechanics, we're running out of people to let out. So I think that's why they had the rights end. Because after this, there'll only be 2 people left. I don't know, or maybe because of our plan. I thought they, oh, maybe it was related to Oralek. There's 4 of you, though? No, there's 3 of us. Last time we had 4 people, because we still had Bertrude. Am I Nightwing? I don't know if the reader... I don't know how the reader works, because apparently the voice was a reader at one point. Oh, he was actually in, like, the original Nightwings when Wolfred joined. and then he became the Archjustice. But I've never actually, the reader has never taken part in the rites, as far as I know, so I don't know how they ascend. They never really explained that.
You elect those, Poppy.
That's how you get a repeat customer there, Dad. You give them a deal. Okay. You've gained the summit of Mount Elodiel for the 7th time. Very few stars remain above to light your way as you await the commencement of the final liberation rite. The lone minstrel finds you clutching the Book of Rites, seeking there, perhaps, some bit of wisdom that has eluded you thus far. Peter, we may not have a chance to speak again after this. I may have to go. I wish to say that I am grateful for having made your acquaintance, and I shall remember you with fondness. I wish you well, this night and always. Go forth with He looks up, and he extends his hand in friendship. Clasp it. See, Sir Gilman has joined you. All of your companions are there with him, in fact. Master Reader, it has been this night's greatest honor to have served with you. Let this be our most glorious stand yet. Well, Reader darling, what do you say we give those old scribes a real show to remember then, shall we? Oh, hi, mister. The others, they said they wanted to join them and come talk to you. So here I am. The scribes are watching us. Look upon your fellow exiles, your companions, with whom you have withstood the downside, and with whom you shall not conduct this final rite. Begging your pardon, but my time has come. We shall see each other soon. He departs. After this night, the outcome of Wolfred's plan, the plan of which all of you have been a part, shall be decided, one way or another. For now, all you can do is strive to prevail against your fellow final adversaries, so that one last companion may go free. You rise to join your fellow exiles as the last remaining stars ignite. Final liberation rite of this age shall now commence. Let us bring about harmony. I'm not going to do any Titan stars. We don't need extra enlightenment. Everybody's maxed.
Look, for one last time, upon the fall of Solium, dear reader. Hear me for one last time. For soon, the few remaining stars shall fade away, leaving you stranded there for your remaining days in that forsaken land where you deserve to be. The rabble that you roused here in the Commonwealth shall be put down. The exiles whom you liberated, all shall fall in line. But first, let us get on with this last liberation rite. You face none other than yourselves. Each so unlike the glorious Nightwings of yore. 'Tis a shame that one of you shall soon be free, for you deserve each other.
The pyres burn, and each of the triumvirates is present. Before the lone minstrel can concur as per the custom, not another word. Demon Orlick slowly raises his clawed fingers to his mask. The false Nightwings have arrived, at last. Long have I awaited this, my freedom once stolen from me. My freedom once was stolen from me. Then, I was cheated of it, here, upon this mountaintop. You may now attempt to take it from me, once more. He stands there for a moment, silent. Then, Orlick dons his mask and stands prepared. May these damned rites cease, forever, for the misery which they caused. Nightwings, we shall not meet again after this tonight, for the cycle of the rites is all but ended. Thus, I would have your decision On whose behalf shall you conduct this final liberation rite? The one whom you anoint, or else the exile Orlok shall be returned. Godspeed, reader. You know what is at stake better than I. I have utmost faith in you to make the best decision and conduct this rite with glory. Nightwings, the stars' remaining light grows dim. Your decision, please. It is time now to choose who, if any one among you, shall go free this one last time. The rest of you shall remain in the downside till the end of your days. One by one, you meet the gazes of each of your fellow exiles. Faye, Sir Gilman, Ametha. Your fellow exiles, your companions, your friends. Together you have come this far, but now, the downside and the rights conspire to tear your group apart and disrupt your plan. Are you prepared to choose this one last time? I could say no. The fate of your friends in the Commonwealth may hang on the decision you are about to make. Yes, for there is no turning back. With but a glance, you reassure your fellow exiles that you know what to do.
One final opportunity for salvation. Too bad for the rest of you.
Oh, they've got an imp. Oh, God. Who we sending back? I think I'm gonna send back Pamitha. I never actually wanted to let Sir Gilman go. I tell you that you've made a terrible mistake there, reader darling, but I think you haven't made as many as I have, so I'll try not to mess this up for either one of us. Your choice is cast. As for your other companions, you sense a clarity of thought and purpose in each of them. You stand ready to support Pamitha, as well as you.
Who shall strive for her? Faye!
Blessed are the Scribes, who grant to me and all of us this final chance, that we might free our dear friend Pamitha.
Sir Gilman.
Master Reader, this night is overflowing with resolve to see the goodly Pamitha return to rightful dignity and glory.
Very well.
Those are to be my adversaries, then. And who is it, I wonder, who asserts his will over that? You sense Orlok searching for you, almost reaching out to you. You, the shadow of the false Nightwings. They are nothing to me, but you who would relinquish your own liberty for sake of them? Strange. It is fitting, then, that I should have to face one such as you. And Orlok stands at the ready, signaling for his two allies to do the same. By the light of dawn, the cycle of the rite shall cease. Let us see if we can finish this ordeal before that time. Then, the sky above begins to shudder. The final liberation rite is about to commence. Tariq! I am prepared, Celeste. And let our song this evening shake the stars themselves. Aye, Celeste, let us make sure of it.
Begin. The final chance at liberation for the age.
Heck. Sky rains ash, soon shall your pyres own mingle with them. Just then the skies above begin to rain down fire, the final throes of the cycle of the rites and the ending of the age. What the hell? Ah! So the false Nightwings bear their fangs at last. But that cannot be your finest effort. I think you deserve your freedom more. You think you deserve your freedom more than I? Then fight for it, damn you. Wow, he can jump. Ah, heck. Wait, where is Sir Gilman? He was supposed to come back.
Resplendent.
Oh! Orlek stands breathing heavily. He looks back on the thin lick of flame that is his smoldering pyre, returning his attention back to your triumvirate.
How he has changed, that Orlek. Grown old and bitter lo these many years. Oh. And there it is.
Oh.
The Nightwings proved their worth. As for their adversaries, they did not. Thus ends the liberation rite. And thus, the Scribes have chosen.
Not bad there, reader darling. Just another night in the downside, no? Look upon Pamitha, for what you expect shall be the last time you see each other. Any moment now the Shimmer Pool shall engulf her. Any moment now she shall return to glory, and join with Wolfred's agents in the Commonwealth to help achieve the plan. Any moment now the cycle of the rites shall end, till at least the dawn of a new age. Any moment now.
And thus, the Scribes have chosen. And thus, the Scribes have chosen. And thus, the Scribes have chosen.
Oh no, it's broken. Oh no.
Nightwings,
Our Shimmer Pool. It's broken.
what have you done?
Dev must have bugged. No, I didn't have the option to let myself go. Damn, did we already miss our chance? Each prior time upon the fall of Solium, the Shimmerpool has opened, following the liberation rite, taking in whichever exile prevailed. Oh no, our rights, they're broken. Yeah, this is very anticlimactic. But now all is still, and the light of the stars above has all but died. You sense a growing fear that it is already too late, but the Shimmerpool shall not reveal itself again. Orlek appears, his head bowed. The 8 Scribes saved their greatest treachery for last, and something else catches his notice. Wait. A sudden rush of starlight cascades through the stillness of the summit. The Shimmerpool has appeared again, different somehow, but open. Pamitha looks upon it, but it does not engulf her, or at least, not yet. It seems I was mistaken, then. The 8 Scribes, this is not their greatest treachery. It is their greatest jest. The Shimmerpool is flung wide open. Maybe there's a DLC? Seems that all are worthy, now, of freedom. Orlek strides toward the Shimmerpool, but... Halt, Orlek. Orlek glances over at the lone minstrel, almost in surprise. The Shimmerpool has lost most of its strength. You step inside, and you shall surely drown. That I can assure you. He laughs to himself at this. Then, we have all been cheated. No, the Shimmerpool is revealed, and one of you may still return, as planned. But, as for who returns, someone shall have to choose. Ere the last light of the stars is extinguished, and the rites cease to be, this is the final trial of the Scribes. The final trial of the Scribes. Then, a confrontation, liberation rite. It all was meaningless? No. The victor of the confrontation is to be the one to make the choice. Among those closest to the Scribes, either the anointed, or he who anointed them. Then, it's sounding rather like I can't get out of here, though maybe you can, reader darling. It shall be either you, the reader, or it shall be either, or Ametha, please, make your decision quickly, lest it shall be forfeit. I do not know for how much longer the light of the star shall offer you this gift. Quite the dilemma, but I think I know which way I'm leaning here. Reader darling, do me a favor now, and go. Get out of here. Before I go start having second thoughts. Ametha wishes to give up her freedom so you may regain yours. Oh no, I don't want to make this decision. Very well. Reader sir, the choices Ametha made, or rather, the choice which she gave, it is now yours to make, instead. This choice, it may keep bouncing back and forth like this? Absurd. It may, until such time as one of you is willing to accept the burden and the outcome of the choice. That is the trial, and I fear there is little time remaining now. Reader, you and your companion are too cordial with each other to accept that freedom, either one of you, then I shall gladly take it. Freedom ought to be more than some flirtatious trifle to exchange. Reader, is your will. Who shall go free? Ugh. Oh, Orlek is kind of tempting, actually. For the lulz, you know how many hours of gameplay I've been through? Hold on. Do you know how long it takes to get here? Oh, only about 16 hours. Okay. How goes to finishing the plan on you? I think I'm like at 94%. There is, if I go back, the plan will likely succeed, but I don't know. You don't think Orlek will help? I think Ametha would help. But would he sabotage the plan? What happens if the plan succeeds? Do people get to come out of the downside? Orlek was supposed to get it anyway, yeah. I don't know, his actions since he was supposed to get it haven't really been that great. He hates Wolfred. Yeah, he hates Wolfred. He would definitely sabotage the plan. Very difficult decision. I don't think I've ever had a decision that was so rough in a game before. I feel like I need to honor Ametha's choice, though. She gave up her spot for us, yeah. I think if I pick her, she won't take it. She'd give it back to me. I was full willing to just let her go and leave myself here. Sorry, Orlek. Sorry, Ametha, Faye, and Sir Gilman. Your mind is made up. You have chosen to be free. Self. I see and understand. Then, it is done. Ametha looks to you, this one last time, her heart filled with unspoken understanding. You turn then to the lone minstrel for an instant, but another instant later. He is gone, he and everyone. All you feel is the coldness of the rush of water coursing all around you. Hamletha gave her freedom, so you may it have yours. We are set to return to the Commonwealth and leave the downside forever. May you return in glory.
Godspeed, reader.
Wait, that's...
By
wait,
the Scribes.
we're a star?
No stars remain aloft. The cycle of the rites. It is finished. The Commonwealth. What shall become of it? What shall become of us? Nightwings. The opportunity to gain your freedom from the downside. Was it not enough?
You are my star. Da 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 da. You are a star. Communism! Hopefully a very healthy form of communism. And everyone is taken care of, right? That night, an exiled reader returned to the Commonwealth. He was to be the last. The stars had faded, and the cycle of the rites had run its course. He found the Commonwealth in great upheaval. Spurred by the efforts of 6 liberated exiles, Wolfred Sandalwood's revolutionary plan had incited the masses. These exiles and the starless sky portended the return of the Scribes. People surged into the streets, shoulder to shoulder. Led by the 6 exiles, their voice shook the heavens. The leadership of the Commonwealth panicked. No blood was shed that night, and by dawn it was over. The leaders of the Commonwealth had cast themselves back into exile, or joined in this new cause. Thus, in its 838th year, the Commonwealth had fallen. The new Saharan Union declared its sovereignty in the next year. Among the changes its elected leaders ushered in, they vowed never to cast their people into exile. And they abolished the old Commonwealth decree forbidding literacy. Today, we still remember all of this. And we remember the exiles of the downside, whose deeds led to the dawning of our age, whether they returned or not. What is this? The imp called Tizo was the first of his kind to achieve liberty through the rites. While he was not the only imp trained in the ways of the Scribes, imps are native to the downside, and thus care not for traveling abroad. This made them useful to triumvirates. Yet Tizo had a different calling, and the Nightwings believed that he, too, could play a key part in Wolfred Sandalwood's plan. During the night of Scribes' return, he stood out to the populace as something of a miracle. They'd only heard of downside imps before from legends of Hau, the Swallow. Afterwards, he became something of an icon, representing both the fall of the Commonwealth and the beginning of a new era. Sandalwood sometimes calls for his assistance, and Tizo was always happy to oblige. The two would often reminisce about their times with the Lone Minstrel. He often chirped about the reader of the Nightwings, with whom he built quite a rapport. The reader understood him perhaps better than anyone. And Tizo would often express wistful gratitude for all his time conducting the rites alongside the Nightwings, who made such sacrifices for him. Other than that, Tizo was diligent about his role as something of a living artifact, and helped interpret for the messenger imps that relayed news to and from the downside. Despite having gained significant celebrity, he never let it go to his head. Although he did take full advantage of his access to the Saharan Union's fishing industry. Tizo. Which, man, if I had waited to liberate Tizo in the last ride, he would not have gotten out, and I would have been extremely upset.
J'étais à mon temple.
After the cycle of the rites ceased turning, records of what happened to the Black Wagon of the Nightwings became inconclusive and contradictory. Some accounts suggest that the exiles of the Nightwings who remained in the downside continued to make use of the Black Wagon as their place of shelter and their means of travel. However, there is no record of what happened to the wagon's contents, such as the Book of Rites, or the Beyonder Crystal, said to be haunted by the apparition of Sandra, the Unseen. One possibility, when the lone minstrel took his leave, he took the Beyonder Crystal with him, for he was thus obliged. By this line of reasoning, however, the Black Wagon itself should have been taken also. Others remained skeptical that Beyonder Crystal ever existed, or rather, that the visions that it granted were anything other than the result of an active imagination or fever dream. The bog dwellers of the southern bogs offer another explanation, for they are familiar with binding enchantments. There existed such an object, in which the Sisters of the Arch had been expelled for more than 800 years, and the enchantment could have expired along with the light of the stars. What this would have meant for Sandra and the Beyonders is difficult to say for certain, other than it may have meant that they were finally released. Nevertheless, the fates of Sandra and the Beyonder Crystal remain unknown. Yet those exiles of the Nightwings who claimed to have seen this apparition all spoke of her with degrees of reverence, or, perhaps, a little fear. Yeah, lots of talking. The Worm Knight Sir Gilman had elected to go into exile as penance for his failure to uphold his military obligations to the Commonwealth. To him, earning back his freedom was tantamount to erasing the shame of his past. His honor was at stake, more so than anything. Yet when it became clear to him that he would not go free again through the rites, he readily accepted the outcome, for he knew, by then, that much more was on the line. He regretted not having a chance to contribute directly to the events that transpired in the Commonwealth, though he was pleased to hear the outcome. The conclusion of the rites and the fall of the Commonwealth made clear to him that his days as the knight had ended. He declared to all those in earshot that he would never fight again. Unless, of course, there arose some other extraordinary set of circumstance, again requiring him to fight, but he certainly hoped not. He still trained regularly, though he never found as skilled and motivating of a partner as his fleet-footed friend of Rookie Greentail, whom he remembered fondly. He wasted no time dwelling on his days under the leadership of Sir Deluge, his former commander. The other Worm Knights stayed well clear of him. Gilman never did return to his homeland of the Sea Dominion, and was content to lead a monastic life on a small residence in the hills. It was just high up enough to make him keep striving to conquer his fear of heights. Other than that, an intense daily regimen and the occasional visit from an old companion was more than enough to keep him optimistic and engaged. He knew by then that honor was not something to be won, but a contract with oneself to be renewed each day. After his liberation, Hedwyn was instrumental in the events leading to the fall of the Commonwealth and was vital to the outcome of the plan. The peaceful outcome of the Scribes' return was attributed to several key factors. One of them was the underlying ambition of the plan itself. Another was Hedwyn's visibility among the people in the streets, identified to be a liberated exile who was believed to be Galathanian reborn. More importantly, however, was that one of the winged harps of the High-Wing remnants accompanied him, who was later identified as Fikani Shang. A harp for whom Hedwyn cared deeply. They were separated when Hedwyn... I didn't know that he had a harp person in his life. Their bond was symbolic of what was at stake that night, proved vital to the peace that followed. In all his days as a leader of the Saharian Union, Hedwyn oft confided in his friend Jodariel. Despite her intense manner, there was no one whom he trusted more in times when circumspection was required. Hedwyn would often think back about the vow he made at the beginning of his quest for freedom. Though he cherished all the friendships he made, he had pledged to Jodariel, Rookie Greentail, and the Reader of the Nightwings that they might all be free again together. His promise had come to pass, though he always knew that this was not his own doing. He was always deeply grateful to the other three, his closest friends. While the others who stood with the Nightwings were not all able to remain in contact thus, Edwin thought of each of them often, and so, in turn, did they oft think of him. He was actually the first person we liberated.
Concealed Tavidias?
Long after the rites had ended, Faye admitted she knew well before the fact that she would not be going home again. At least, she had a very strong feeling. She ended up not minding very much, because she had little to return to in the Commonwealth. Her sense of home had changed. She took to wandering from one celestial landmark to the next, ever paying homage to the 8 Scribes, who she believed had influenced all that transpired. She was no stranger to traveling alone, but was always happy to have company. Through it all, she would wonder how her little friend Tizo had fared. While they were divided now by a great distance, he always remained in her heart. Aww. Though they could not see each other any longer, Faye often thought about Jodariel and spoke to her as though she were there. Faye never tried to make a decision without first consulting her idea of what Miss Jodariel might say. One day, she encountered one of her former adversaries, the one called Almer Oldheart, who had first served the Fate. She remembered him much more than he did her, though only just at first. Their shared experience in the rites, and their different points of views about the Scribes, formed the basis of what grew to be a long-lasting relationship. Faye always was devoted to her faith, but more so to her friends. Her gentle manner and unwavering conviction often helped them brave life in the downside, both with courage and with grace. All his life, Sir Deluge had fled from one danger only to find himself facing another. He had escaped the war-torn waters of the Sea Dominion, he had escaped the blood border of the Commonwealth, and now he had escaped the rites. After the rites had ended, many exiles wrapped up in the ancient tests were crestfallen, as their last chances to return to their homes vanished, along with the stars above. But Deluge did not mind, for this outcome meant that, at last, there was no burden of responsibility weighing down on him. Having heard that Sir Gilman had remained behind, Deluge made a point of avoiding him at all costs. Nonetheless, they ran into each other once, riding a cold current in the Sea of Solace. The meeting was terse and cordial. Deluge ended up apologizing profusely for mistreating his fellow Worm Knight, and that was the end of it. While most of his fellow exiles of the Pyrehearts yet longed for the waters of the Sea Dominion, driven as ever by their impulses toward conflict, Deluge settled down. Tim remained one of his companions, one Lady Seagrass, who had taken a liking to him for some reason. Reportedly, they had disappeared into the waters of Worm Gulf, which may begin to explain the significant rise in worm population observed in the vicinity. Bonk. As the cycle of the rites drew to a close, it grew evident that a chance at freedom from the downside had forever slipped from Dalbert and Almer Oldheart's grasp. Thus they and the exiles of the Fate returned to Yomer Valley. There they struggled to get by, as exiles of the downside tend to do. Sometime after the rites had ended, the Oldhearts at last heard the news that the Commonwealth had fallen. This was well after the fact, of course, and it brought old Dalbert great joy. Despite his forthright manner, he had no love for the nation that cast him down, along with his son. Dalbert Oldheart passed peacefully in his sleep before the next moon. In his final days, he implored his son to undertake a pilgrimage to the Scribes. Almer never shared his father's view of the Scribes, but respected Dalbert's wishes, and so, after a period of mourning, Almer began a new journey. One day during his travels, he ran almost headlong into another exile after paying homage at the Spring of Yomer. He was stunned to find that this was none other than the one he knew as Faye, from their days as adversaries in the rites. Faye was overjoyed to see him, though Almer was unable to bring himself to understand why. Eventually, of course, he did, and they remained together, growing ever more accustomed to their new lives in the downside. Not a day went by that Almer Oldheart did not think about his father, and gave thanks to him, and speaks to him, at morning and at night. Would that the stars yet shone, for surely Dalbert's would be there among them, smiling down at his son, watching over him and his kin. After the cycle of the rites had ended, Witch returned to the Flagging Hands region, where she sealed herself within the pit of Milith. There, even her fellow exiles of the Withdrawn allegedly grew unnerved after a time, and left her to her vile work. Sometime later, the pit of Milith erupted into flame, so intense it was the kind of flagration that it could be seen all the way from Yomer Valley. Arson was suspected, though the cause was never verified, and many bog dwellers in the region were forced to flee. A tempest blowing from the north finally quenched the flames. When at last the ashes settled, The grounds had cooled, the side of the fire was scarred beyond recognition, and no trace of which Mildy could be found. As for the contents of the pit of Milith, which notably included a profane object thought to be the remains of Islak, all of it was gone as well. Back in the Sahir Union, Mildy's repeated threats that the return of Islak were thoroughly investigated, and no credence was found to any of her claims. After the final liberation rite, Lendl refused to believe that the rites had truly ended. He would sit through night after consecutive night, staring into the blackness of the sky, awaiting any kind of sign that he might gain another chance at freedom. No such sign ever came. His fellow accusers started to express concern for him. Survival had become their top priority once liberty had slipped from their grasp. But Lendl dismissed them as weak fools. He insisted, rather forcefully, that any evening now the stars would shine for him again, and mark the way toward his inevitable freedom. He was, of course, mistaken. The others in his triumvirate were left with little choice but to abandon him. After that, the exile known as Lendl the Liar was never seen again. However, there have been sightings of a bedraggled demon who wanders the downside and bears Lendl's cruel countenance, suggesting he yet lives. So many. Throughout her exile, Tamitha Thayan was motivated by a single goal: to return to the Commonwealth and exact vengeance on her ancient enemies. When she realized the rites had ended, and that she would never see her mountain home again, she nonetheless remained determined to aid her people however possible. She had gathered certain information pertaining to the intentions of the Nightwings, who had formed a pact to regroup on the other side, after their liberation. Other such reports exposed certain weaknesses in the Commonwealth defenses, revealed to the Highwing remnants the opportunity for a risky, but potentially impactful strike. As Tamitha could not participate in the assault, she learned what happened well after the outcome. On that night, known as the Scribes' return, the Commonwealth had fallen. The Highwing remnants had thus prevailed, at last, without even having to fight. Soon after the fall of the Commonwealth, Tamitha encountered her blood sister, Tamitha, come to pay her a visit. Tamitha had hoped their people's victory on the other side would be cause for reconciliation. Tamitha was skeptical of her intentions, however, and lashed out at her. Tamitha made no attempt to elude the attack, and was struck full on. This cost Tamitha the use of her right wing, yet, after she recovered, she shrugged the incident aside and said maybe they would call it even now. From that point on, the Blood Sisters kept a formal distance, but were cordial with each other. Knowing that the conflict on the other side had ended, Tamitha retreated to the crags of Black Basin and grew ever more distant. Those closest to her surmised that her inability to reconcile with her blood sister was at the heart of this, though, for her part, Tamitha never once admitted to any such weakness. Barker Ashpaws never had much interest in returning to the Commonwealth, for he always found its bylaws to be stifling, so when the rites ended, he did not care, at first. He soon grew very bored. The rites had given his life a certain sense of structure he had always needed. He missed the raw anticipation of it all. He decided to continue conducting the rites for the thrill of it. He bent some of the rules and replaced some of the objects, but it was close enough. His pack-mates dissidents proved more than happy to participate, and thus they ran against each other back in Yomer Valley. Gradually, other exiles familiar with the rites, as well as those who had not heard of it at all, started to take an interest. It ended up giving Barker Ashpaws some healthy competition. His old feud with Rookie Greentail ceased meaning anything to him, and forgot all about it amid his new pursuits. Ultimately, even Barker Ashpaws, who had led such a directionless existence to that point, found something of a calling through the rites. Whether he took the rites less seriously than any other exile of his time, or more, was oft debated by those who watched him work. When Manly Tinderstaff realized the rites had ended, and that he no longer could return to the Commonwealth through this ancient means, he was outraged. He cursed the Scribes, spewing forth such a slew of blasphemy as to be very unbecoming of one of his high status and bearing. When at last he calmed himself, he focused all his energies on attempting to find another means of homecoming. He maintained regular contact with his wealthy family on the other side via messenger imp, and used their vast resources to explore other means of escape. He tried using an elaborate pulley system. He attempted to retrofit the flying black wagon with superior propulsion. He tried an imp raft, a hot air balloon, even prayer. Nothing worked. There's only one way to escape the downside, and now, gone. Hinterstaff bankrupted his family in these vain attempts. At last, such was his shame that he retreated to the teeming woods of Black Basin to Cinderbrook. There he yet wallows, complaining to his comrades of the chastity, who still put up with him, either about his own misfortune or the latest news from the other side. Once it became clear to Ignarius that the rites were drawing to a close, he knew that it was time for him and the Tempest to call it quits. But first, he and the Tempest decided to celebrate, and that they did, for many, many nights. The revelry did eventually subside. The exiles parted amicably and went their separate ways. He roamed the downside then, searching for some meaning in his life, sometimes taking odd jobs requiring his brute strength. He never remained alone for very long, and took on many lovers in his time. However, he sometimes thought about the one he had called Curlyhorns and what became of her. Though his glory days as the most powerful conductor of the rites had long since passed, he always enjoyed the fearsome reputation he had cultivated at that time. And there's a lot of banging going on in these stories. Wait, what happened to Rod? Wait, Rod can escape? With the rites drawn to a close, the Slugmartin's revenues failed precipitously, and Falcon Ron was forced to liquidate his assets and close up shop. Yet, as is sometimes the case with those of an entrepreneurial leaning, this time of hardship led to an epiphany, or at least a sudden change of fortune. One day Falcon Ron had a run-in with a messenger imp bearing news from the other side. Ron gave to it one of his remaining trinkets which could not be sold. The following week, the messenger imp returned to him bearing a tidy sum of wealth in newly minted coinage from the Saurian Union. Falcon Run caught a long-term deal with the messenger imp then and there. Though his trade remained a gray area from a legal standpoint in the Saurian Union, the newfound fame of the downside caused Falcon Run's goods to explode in popularity. He later signed an elaborate agreement with Big Bertrude's, and found a distribution partner on the other side through Rookie Greentail, whose own business had expanded. Especially in the Saurian Union, Falcon Run's goods are still known for their superior quality, though he assumes no liability for any side effects. After returning to the Commonwealth, the crow known as Big Bertrude promptly returned to the wet climate of her ancestral home in the southern bogs. There, for a time, it appeared that she had distanced herself from any involvement with society, or with the plan of which she was a part. We know now that she worked diligently toward the goals outlined by Sandalwood, yet well outside the notice of even those who had watched her movements closely. For example, she printed notices spread throughout the streets about the night of Scribes' return, were all her doing. Yet, no one knew until she owned up to it much later. Subsequently, she returned her focus to the sort of work which had preoccupied her for many, many years, both in the downside and in the Commonwealth. And she remotely managed aspects of her business in the downside, ensuring that the exiles who remained there still could get a hold of certain valuables. Much of her efforts was doubtless due to the influence of Sandalwood, someone whom she had admired now for decades. He had made clear that he could not requite her feelings for him, but what could have been a hurtful dismissal led only to a deeper understanding between them. Gertrude most of all kept busy with her work, the inks and notices which she still brewed and manufactured once were grounds enough for a quick sentence into exile. Back then, one thing worse than spreading lies about the Commonwealth through speech was doing so in print. Once exposed, such writings all were burned. Now, the written point of view is to be honored rather than to be feared. The Big Bertrude remains one of our time's most notable purveyors of this craft. It's quite likely something you have read in recent times would have been put to parchment by her handiwork. Saving the two in the middle for the last. After Rookie Greentail earned back his freedom, he returned to a lavish welcome ceremony in the Commonwealth, as was the tendency for liberated exiles. It was everything he could have hoped for, and soon he was well off, surrounded by luxury, and choosing between various exciting opportunities. However, he must have given in to his better judgment, as he did end up siding with Wolfred Sandalwood's revolutionary forces, as he promised. On the night of Scribes' return, Greentail was there with the others, inspiring the masses. He never looked prouder, the very image of Yomer Manymane himself. When dawn finally came, It became clear that the Commonwealth that everybody knew would be no more. He realized many new opportunities awaited. He began quite a lucrative career for himself, manufacturing and selling replica merchandise inspired by the downside. His main struggle was to meet demand. An aspect of his conscience cautioned him against making light of such a thing, but the money was too good, and soon his family was as well off as he always said. Greentail always did his best to keep in touch with all of his many friends, and knew that he owed his fortunes to them. He made a special point of staying close with the group of friends he came to know so well during his time with the Nightwings, wherever they were. They showed a special understanding that put even Greentail at a loss for words, sometimes. After her liberation, Jodariel soon became an icon of the movement that led to the collapse of the Commonwealth and the rise of the Saurian Union. Her horns and stern countenance inspired the people to believe that she was solely a Mer, reborn. She became a great, if reluctant, leader. In the uncertain times that followed, Jodariel's seasoned expertise often came into play both in matters of security and of state. For instance, she conscripted and trained a team of volunteers in public safety. The community did not know what to make of such a cordial bunch at first, but soon came to value their service. They have stood for the people ever since, and we celebrate their founding day each year. She remained close with Headwind all through this experience, and they supported each other through their struggles many times. She often had to stop herself from fearing for Faye, whom she had tried to look after as much as possible in the downside. Soon, she would reassure herself that Faye was very capable of surviving on her own, and in fact, she was not mistaken. She continued training on her own, a regimen that grew stricter with each passing year. There were those who sought to train with her, and she sometimes obliged. There remained one other constant in her life. She would always remember her days among the Nightwings, and with fondness, for the most part. After the rites ended, Pamitha Thane parted ways with the other Nightwings, stating that she needed time alone. She reappeared sometime after the fall of the Commonwealth, although she expressed mild surprise at the news. She claimed to have no knowledge of what went on, including what role the Highwing remnants had in the events that reshaped the world on the other side. For her part, Pamitha feigned little interest, making the point that they were stuck, and what happened elsewhere had little to do with them now. One day, while traveling to Black Basin, Pamitha ran into her blood sister, Chamitha, for the first time since the conclusion of the rites. The reunion was not as amicable as Pamitha might have hoped, and Chamitha, still resentful of their history together, turned violent. Pamitha would later brush aside the incident, though always had an injury to show for it. Yet, from that point on, blood sisters were back on speaking terms, at least for the most part. Having long since felt as though she had no home to call her own, Pamitha continued traveling about the downside. As the tempest swept across the land, changing its features, she found in it a sublime beauty. And, in the starless nights, she still could see just fine. She said such travels tended to remind her of when she was younger and could fly. Pamitha. After the shimmer pool closed for what would be the last time, Orlek looked around him, in the flickering light of the Nightwing's still burning pyre. He then returned to the fall of Solium and looked up toward the black, starless sky. He cursed the 8 scribes, then, one after the other. After that, he strode forward, toward the waters coursing from the side of Mount Elodiel, and without hesitating, he cast himself down. Orlek's body was never recovered. The drop from Mount Elodiel does not appear survivable, though Orlek did survive it, once. That time, however, he was filled with fury. Such was the betrayal he had suffered when his fellow exile claimed his rightful freedom. This time, Orlek was filled with nothingness, and chose to leave the downside in the one way he still knew he could. Wow, that's dark. The other Nightwings, who were witness to this, never forgot what they saw. When Volfred Sandalwood regained his freedom, he knew that his work had only just begun. The nation that had exiled him to life in the downside now prepared to honor him, but he was not interested in such ceremony, nor in freedom on the Commonwealth's own terms. He soon rejoined his agents, with whom he had been coordinating for years, slowly, carefully preparing for a night that soon would come. For Sandalwood and his loyalists and sympathizers, true freedom was at stake, not just theirs, but that of everyone living under the Commonwealth. He hoped to gather liberated exiles representing each of the 8 largest ethnic groups composing the population of the Commonwealth. They would stand together as a vision of the 8 scribes returned, inspiring the masses to embrace an older set of values, from before the Commonwealth had tightened its grip. With the rites having ended sooner than expected, this optimal scenario became impossible. Sandalwood did not relent, prepared to execute his plan, imperfect though it was. On the night of the scribe's return, he stood with one of the 6 former exiles of the Nightwings, and their voices echoed together through the streets. These former exiles, who ought have disappeared into the ranks of the Commonwealth's own leadership, now stood united with its people, who poured from their homes in solidarity. It's imperative to Sandalwood that this stand against the Commonwealth be peaceful in its nature. An overwhelming show of popular support would be more than enough. Ensuring this was his priority that night, and, in the end, the result was self-evident. The plan's goal had been achieved. Sandalwood's work was far from over still. He labored ceaselessly with representatives from across the population to restore a sense of stability. This transitional period had its troubles, though none that were not quickly solved. Such was the will and spirit of the people. They understood their freedom carried new responsibility. After the Saurian Union was born next year, Sandalwood was elected as the nation's first prime minister. It was not his intent to run for this office, but the people chose him anyway. He led our fledgling nation through its nascent years. One of his allies in all of this was the imp Tizo, with whom he traveled all across the downside. Sandalwood often cited Tizo as a wellspring of his own enthusiasm for a brighter future. Such was the creature's spirit. He invited the perspective of the reader of the Nightwings at every opportunity, and counted him one of his chief advisors and most trusted friends. As Wolfred Sandalwood gained more fame throughout this land for all his sacrifices and his contributions, he remained ever steadfast about 2 things. The first was that the cause itself ought to remain in focus. The freedom that the people had achieved was a gift to be cherished, a set of values that needed to be nurtured. The second point he made was that he himself had little to do with the outcome. He would often praise the exiles of the Nightwings who had stood with him, each in turn by name. He never forgot any of them. One day, on his birthday, the people of the Saurian Union presented to him a monument depicting him and the Nightwings as imagined in their prime. It has since ensured that those of us with memories more fallible than that of Sandalwood likewise remember the achievements of his fellow former exiles and our cause. After the cycle of the rites ceased turning, the lone minstrel bade the remaining Nightwings take the Black Wagon and seek their fortunes elsewhere in the downside. Their parting was heartfelt, but brief. He remained there, at the summit of Mount Elodiel, with Celeste, where the 2 of them would chronicle the final outcome of the cycle. Neither Tariq nor Celeste were ever seen again. We know all this now through song attributed to them. Some claim these songs originated in the taverns of the Saurian Union, and merely were imbued with the weight of folklore. However, exiles liberated from the downside corroborated each other's claims at having met this duo that presided over the liberation rites. Another folktale suggests these minstrels were heralds of the Scribes. Having fulfilled their obligations, they departed the world we know and rejoined their patrons. One of their most famous songs describes another, simpler outcome. The 2 gave up their duties to the rites in favor of a life that they could share together. In any case, they are likely to remain the subject of such verses and such songs, for it was they who watched over the rites and ushered in our times. There is one more account which warrants mention. The Nightwings conducted the rites under the guidance of a reader. Little is known of him. He's a thirsty boy. However, some accounts of him begin to paint a picture. We know he was of common birth. Always directionless and prone to misremembering at times, I feel attacked. The journey to the downside left him close to death. It was then that the Nightwings found him. They brought him from the brink, he showed them the path. He pressed onward with the others. He had made a vow to help his friends be free. Thus did the cycle of the rites commence its final turns. When the final rite arrived, the reader's freedom was at stake. That freedom he, indeed, achieved ere the morning's light. From that point on, accounts of him diverge. It is said the voice, which troubled him, he never heard again. Some say he helped to form our Saurian union. Though, whether that is true, only he knows. Someday, perhaps, that reader's own star shall emerge. Then it shall pierce the dark of night in all its brilliant glory. Till such time, and ever after, all of us give thanks.
Their journey began on a barren waste where the reader arrived, afraid and alone. When he arrived, the book of rites awakened the Nightwings and ignited the flame. They follow the stars, bound together, strands in our brain till the end. We sing of the last of the Nightwings who, having broken the cycle, shall live on in song. Headwind prevailed and strode the path that his heart laid before him. He has found his way home. Captain Joe Dariel, mother to many a foundling, she has found her way home. Rookie Greentail has proved his worth and returned to his family by the grace of the Scribes. They follow the stars, bound together, strands in a braid till the end.
The moon-touched girl feels the scribes in the heart of the downside. She remained to the end.
Tizo prevailed, first of his lowly kind, to ascend from the downside. He has found a new home.
Sir Gilman the Bold, duty bound to honor the Nightwings, he remains to the end.
Ameth the Thane, born on guilty wings, ever seeking forgiveness. enchanter Gertrude made her rivals pay with the darkest of curses. She has found her way home. The reader at last made the night wings whole and ascended to freedom. He has found his way home. They follow the stars, bound together, strands in a braid till the end. They follow the stars, bound together, strands in a braid till the end. Now at the end, as we bid farewell and return to the stars, we shall find our way home. We shall find our way home. We shall find our way home.
Man, what a game. I've played, I've played most of Supergiant's games, and I'm always a fan. They always have fantastic music and very moving stories. True Nightwing's campaign mode unlocked? Oh no, we're not. Each one of those rights may have taken a few days off of my life. That's how much they stress me out. Oh.